Hello everyone and welcome to the Young and the Restless official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Thursday, March 12th, 2026. Today on The Young and the Restless, Sienna thinks Nick has a pill problem. Victoria decides to take matters into her own hands, and Adam hides his concerns from his loved ones. At the ranch, Nikki thanks Victoria for coming and rants that this time her father has gone too far. He's kidnapped Jack. Nikki explains Victor is using this to get Billy and Phyllis to return Chancellor, but it was Diane and Kyle who told her. Victoria doesn't know what to say, but Nikki has more ranting to do about the situation. Victoria tries to shift blame to Kane and Phyllis, but Nikki points out that they haven't kidnapped anyone. Her daughter next blames the AI program. Nikki declares that this has to end and she will be the one to end it. Victoria doesn't condone her father kidnapping Jack, but she agrees with taking desperate measures. Nikki fumes that Victor is deliberately avoiding her. Victoria urges her to call him again. She does and leaves an angry message on his voicemail. Victoria tells her mother she wants to force Phyllis's hand with her own plan. At society, Noah tells Sienna he's worried what his dad, who's in no shape to take on Matt Clark alone. Sienna thinks Nick seems a little off lately. Noah concedes he's been a little intense. Sienna hedges that the signs she's noticed started before they knew about Matt. Suddenly, Noah gets a text, "Enjoy your empanadas." Noah checks outside for Matt but sees nothing. Another text comes in which makes it apparent that Clark doesn't actually know where they are. He just wants to terrorize them. Noah swerves back to Nick. Sienna's clearly reluctant to speak her mind. Finally, Sienna admits she thinks his dad might have a problem with painkillers. Noah concedes that he did seem to be hitting them pretty hard. Is she saying he's addicted? Sienna wonders if he's being over-medicated. His agitation, impatience, and mood swings sets off alarm bells for her. I know it when I see it. Noah asks if Sienna has a history with addiction. She doesn't, but her brother died of an overdose. She sees the same signs in Nick and it gives her chills. Tearing up, Sienna wishes someone had warned her about him sooner. Still in denial, Noah's sure this isn't the case with Nick. Dad's got this covered. Over at Crimson Lights, Nick grimaces on the patio and sits to rub his leg. Reaching into his pocket, he takes out the baggie of fentanyl and pops one. Adam appears and asks if everything is alright. Nick shrugs that he's jumpy with Matt on the loose. They debate whether Adam should go with him to Vegas. Adam wants to help and reveals that he's remembered where Reza lived. Nick just wants the address, but Adam warns he'll have to be the one to approach her. Nick argues irritably that this is his fight. Adam chuckles that he sounds like their pop and insists it's okay for Nick to lean on his brother. "I'm offering you a gift, Nick. Just accept it." Nick hisses that he's trying to save Adam. Sharon appears and Adam questions why Nick is working so hard to keep him from going to Vegas with him. Sharon understands Nick's concerns about Adam's trauma. He assures her he's strong enough to revisit his past in order to help rid the world of Matt Clark. Sharon admits she doesn't want Nick going alone. Adam tells Nick, "Let's just go after this son of a bitch together." Nick asks, "Are you sure you're up for it?" Adam says 100%. Once alone, Nick, clearly high, weaves around the patio and acts all chill when Sharon appears with drinks. He makes weird movements and pops up on his tippy toes. How is she not noticing this as he shares his concerns about Adam backsliding if he goes to Vegas? Meanwhile, Adam arrives at home and tells Chelsea he went to see Nick and offered to go with him to find Reza. Chelsea's not impressed. He assures her he'll be fine. He has to help bring Matt Clark down. Chelsea admits she's scared about him, revisiting his spider days. At the ranch, Victoria tells her mother that Phyllis needs to be their target. She won't roll over for Jack, but she might if they find something near and dear to bargain with. She needs to think she'll never see her children again if she doesn't hand Newman back. She's headed to Milan on the first flight out. At society, Noah's lost his appetite. Thinking about Matt, Sienna questions how they stop him. Noah remains worried about what his father might do. This could end very badly. At Crimson Lights, Sharon implores Nick to take Newman security with him to Vegas. Nick shakes his head. It will send Reza and Matt heading for the hills. The only way Clark will stop is if he stops him. Sharon hugs him as he promises this will be over soon. At Adam's place, he tries to convince Chelsea he can handle the trip to Vegas. Nick needs all the help he can get. Chelsea doesn't want to move the man she loves. Adam reassures her and they embrace, but he looks worried. On a tense Thursday, March 12, 2026, the storm clouds hanging over the young and the restless grow darker than ever as secrets, fears, and desperate plans begin colliding across Genoa City. At the Newman Ranch, the atmosphere feels thick with outrage and disbelief as Nikki Newman struggles to contain her fury. She thanks Victoria Newman for coming so quickly, but gratitude quickly gives way to a torrent of anger as she vents about the unimaginable line her husband has crossed this time. Her voice trembles with outrage as she reveals the truth that still feels impossible to accept. Victor Newman has kidnapped Jack Abbott. The words hang in the air like a thunderclap, leaving Victoria momentarily speechless as she processes the gravity of what her father has done. Nikki explains that Victor is using Jack as leverage, hoping to force Billy Abbott and Phyllis Summers into returning Chancellor, and the information came directly from Diane Jenkins and Kyle Abbott. Even as Victoria tries to form a response, Nikki's outrage keeps spilling over, her frustration growing with every passing moment as she rages about how out of control this entire situation has become. Victoria attempts to shift some of the blame, pointing out that the chaos surrounding Kane and Phyllis has pushed tensions to the breaking point. But Nikki refuses to accept that reasoning, quickly snapping back that neither of them has kidnapped anyone. The tension between mother and daughter crackles as Victoria pivots again, blaming the dangerous AI program for escalating the entire conflict. Nikki, however, is beyond excuses and explanations. She declares with steely resolve that this madness has gone on long enough. This time, she insists she will be the one to end it. Victoria makes it clear she doesn't condone Victor's decision to abduct Jack, but she also acknowledges that desperate times sometimes call for desperate measures. Nikki, however, is livid that Victor seems to be deliberately avoiding her, dodging her calls as if he knows the fury waiting on the other end of the line. At Victoria's urging, Nikki tries calling him again, her voice dripping with anger as she leaves a furious voicemail message demanding answers. Once the call ends, Victoria calmly reveals that she has a plan of her own, one designed to force Phyllis's hand in a way Victor never could. Across town at Society, the tension feels just as palpable, though it takes on a different, more personal edge. Noah Newman confides in Sienna that he's deeply worried about his father. With Matt Clark still on the loose, Nick is determined to confront the threat head-on. But Noah can't shake the feeling that his dad isn't in the right condition to face someone that dangerous alone. Sienna hesitates before speaking, clearly wrestling with her thoughts, but eventually admits that Nick has seemed a little off lately. Noah reluctantly agrees that his father has been more intense than usual, though he chalks it up to the pressure they're all under. Sienna, however, gently points out that the warning signs started even before they learned about Matt. Just as the conversation grows heavier, Noah's phone suddenly buzzes with a message. "Enjoy your empanadas?" Alarmed, he rushes outside, scanning the area for any sign of Matt Clark lurking nearby. But the street remains eerily empty. Another message soon follows, and the realization dawns on them that Matt doesn't actually know where they are. He's simply trying to terrorize them from afar. The chilling implication leaves Noah shaken, but Sienna's attention drifts back to Nick, and the concern on her face deepens. Noah notices her hesitation and presses her to speak honestly, even if he may not like what she has to say. After a long pause, Sienna finally admits the fear that has been gnawing at her. She believes Nick might have a problem with painkillers. Noah admits that his father has been taking them frequently, but he recoils at the suggestion of addiction. Sienna clarifies that she's not necessarily saying Nick is addicted, but she worries he might be dangerously over-medicated. The agitation, the impatience, the unpredictable mood swings, those are the warning signs she recognizes all too well. When Noah asks if she has personal experience with addiction, Sienna's voice trembles as she reveals a painful truth: her brother died from an overdose. The memory clearly still haunts her, and as tears well in her eyes, she confesses that seeing those same signs in Nick sends a chill down her spine. She wishes someone had warned her about her brother before it was too late, but Noah, still clinging to hope, insists that this situation is different and that his father has everything under control. Meanwhile, at the patio of Crimson Lights, the reality of Sienna's fears quietly begins to unfold. Nick Newman grimaces as he sits down, rubbing his leg as waves of pain ripple through him. The strain of everything he's facing, Matt Clark's threat, the looming trip to Las Vegas, the weight of protecting his family seems etched into every line of his face. Reaching into his pocket, he pulls out a small bag containing fentanyl and casually takes one of the pills. At that moment, Adam Newman appears, asking if everything is all right. Nick shrugs off the concern, explaining that he's a little jumpy with Matt still out there somewhere. The conversation soon shifts to the looming trip to Las Vegas, where Nick hopes to track down Reza, someone who might hold the key to bringing Matt Clark down. Adam insists on going with him, revealing that he's remembered where Reza used to live. Nick, however, pushes back immediately, insisting that all he needs is the address and that he'll handle the rest himself. Adam counters that if Reza is involved, he should be the one to approach her. The tension between the brothers rises as Nick irritably argues that this fight belongs to him alone. Adam chuckles at the stubbornness in Nick's voice, teasing that he sounds exactly like their father, and reminds him that it's okay to lean on his brother sometimes. He tells Nick that he's offering him a gift, his help, and urges him to accept it. Nick, his nerves fraying, snaps back that he's trying to save Adam from getting dragged into something dangerous. At that moment, Sharon Newman arrives and questions why Nick is so determined to keep Adam from joining him in Vegas. Sharon understands Nick's concerns about Adam's past trauma, but Adam assures her that he's strong enough to revisit those painful memories if it means finally ridding the world of Matt Clark. Sharon admits she doesn't want Nick facing this threat alone, and Adam firmly backs her up, telling Nick they should go after Matt together. Nick studies him carefully before asking if he's truly ready for something like this, and Adam answers without hesitation, he's 100% ready. Later, when Nick finds himself alone again on the patio, the effects of the drug begin to show. He moves with an unusual looseness, weaving slightly as he walks, his behavior shifting in subtle but unmistakable ways. When Sharon returns carrying drinks, Nick suddenly straightens up and tries to act normal, though his strange gestures and awkward movements, rising onto his tiptoes and fidgeting restlessly, hint at the truth beneath the surface. Somehow Sharon doesn't seem to notice, and Nick calmly explains that he's worried Adam could relapse if he revisits the darkness tied to Las Vegas. The concern sounds genuine, yet the haze clouding his judgment makes it hard to know how much of his reasoning is grounded in reality. Elsewhere, Adam returns home and tells Chelsea Lawson about his visit with Nick and his offer to join him in tracking down Reza. Chelsea listens carefully, but she's far from reassured by the idea. Adam promises that he'll be fine and insists that helping take down Matt Clark is something he needs to do. Still, Chelsea can't hide her fear that the trip might force Adam to confront the darkest chapters of his past, especially the memories tied to his time as Spider. Her voice softens as she admits she's terrified of what reopening those wounds could do to him. Adam gently reassures her, insisting that he's stronger now than he's ever been. But the tension in his expression hints that even he isn't entirely convinced. Back at the ranch, Victoria begins outlining the bold plan she hinted at earlier. In her mind, the key to solving this crisis lies with Phyllis. Victoria doesn't believe Phyllis would ever surrender for Jack's sake alone, but she might fold if something far more precious were placed on the line. If Phyllis could be made to believe she might never see her children again, Victoria reasons she might finally hand Newman back. The plan is risky and ruthless, but Victoria's determination is unwavering as she reveals she's already preparing to leave for Milan on the first available flight. As the evening deepens across Genoa City, the emotional weight of everything unfolding becomes impossible to ignore. At society, Noah pushes his plate aside, suddenly losing his appetite as thoughts of Matt Clark and his father's safety swirl through his mind. Sienna quietly wonders how they can possibly stop a man who seems determined to torment them from the shadows. Noah admits that what scares him most is what his father might do in response, because this entire situation feels like it's racing toward a disastrous ending. Meanwhile, back at Crimson Lights, Sharon pleads with Nick to bring Newman security with him to Las Vegas, hoping to give him some protection. Nick shakes his head firmly, explaining that too much attention would only scare Riza and Matt into disappearing before he can reach them. In his mind, there's only one way this nightmare ends. He has to stop Matt Clark himself. Sharon wraps him in a warm embrace, searching his face for reassurance as he promises that soon this nightmare will finally be over. Yet far from the comfort of that moment, another quiet worry lingers elsewhere in Genoa City. At home, Adam continues trying to convince Chelsea that he's capable of making the trip to Vegas without falling apart. He insists that Nick needs every bit of help he can get, and he refuses to stand by while his brother faces such a dangerous enemy alone. Chelsea's voice trembles as she confesses she's afraid to lose the man she loves to the ghosts of his past. Adam holds her tightly, promising that everything will be all right. But as they embrace, his eyes reveal a flicker of uncertainty, a silent reminder that even the strongest promises can carry shadows of doubt. The night continues to settle heavily over Genoa City, but the tension gripping everyone's lives refuses to loosen its hold. At the Newman Ranch, the emotional storm surrounding Nicky Newman and Victoria Newman refuses to fade, and the gravity of what Victor Newman has done lingers like a dark cloud hanging over the estate. Nicky paces the room with restless fury, her frustration growing with every unanswered call and every moment that passes without word from Victor. The idea that her husband would resort to something as extreme as kidnapping Jack Abbott still feels surreal, yet the consequences are painfully real. Victoria watches her mother carefully, knowing that beneath Nicky's anger lies a deep fear that Victor's obsession with winning may finally have pushed him too far. Even so, Victoria's mind is already racing several steps ahead, calculating possibilities and weighing risks as she refines the dangerous plan she intends to set into motion. If Victor believes extreme measures are necessary to protect the Newman Empire, then Victoria is prepared to prove that she can be just as ruthless when the moment demands it. Her strategy centers on one person she knows better than most, Phyllis Summers. Victoria believes Phyllis is fiercely loyal to those she loves, but also painfully vulnerable when it comes to her children. In Victoria's eyes, that vulnerability could become the leverage needed to break the stalemate that has spiraled into chaos. She calmly explains to Nicky that Phyllis may never surrender anything for Jack's sake alone, but if the thought of losing her children forever becomes real enough, the balance of power could shift instantly. Nicky listens with a mixture of concern and reluctant understanding, recognizing the cold calculation behind her daughter's words. The plan is harsh and morally complicated, but the situation they're trapped in is already spiraling beyond control. With a determined look that mirrors Victor's own relentless spirit, Victoria announces she's leaving for Milan on the very first flight she can catch. In her mind, every second counts, and if her plan succeeds, it might be the only way to force the truth into the open and bring this dangerous game to an end. Across town at Society, the atmosphere feels quieter, but the unease lingering between Noah Newman and Sienna grows heavier with every passing minute. The earlier messages from Matt Clark still echo in Noah's mind like a threat whispered in the dark. Even though Matt doesn't seem to know their exact location, the fact that he's watching closely enough to taunt them proves that he's still very much out there, waiting for the right moment to strike. Noah pushes his plate aside, the food in front of him suddenly meaningless as worry tightens around his chest. He can't stop thinking about his father, about the determination burning in Nick Newman's eyes when he talks about confronting Matt alone. Sienna studies Noah quietly, her earlier confession about Nick's possible painkiller problem still lingering between them like an unspoken truth. Neither of them knows how to handle. She wishes she could take back the fear she revealed, but the memory of her brother's overdose refuses to let her stay silent. The weight of that loss presses against her heart as she watches Noah struggle to reconcile the possibility that something might truly be wrong with his father. For Noah, the idea feels almost impossible to accept. Nick has always been the strong one, the protector, the steady presence in the middle of chaos. The thought that the same man could be losing control because of medication feels like a betrayal of everything Noah has believed about him. Yet somewhere deep down, the seeds of doubt have already been planted, and the uncertainty gnaws at him more than he wants to admit. As they sit together in uneasy silence, the question neither of them can answer hangs in the air. If Matt Clark is dangerous enough to push Nick to the edge, what might happen when the two men finally face each other? Meanwhile, the quiet patio outside Crimson Lights carries a very different kind of tension.